Hello, welcome to Dead End Street. I'm Al. I'm here with Bern and Bri. We're going to rank the Danzig albums from worst to first. So which your guys' knowledge on, well, first of all, this is our first video. So we decided, so we've known each other a while. We decided to go ahead with Danzig because it was one of the few bands that we actually had in common when we were younger, and I thought it would be funny to see how we all felt about it now. So, what is your experience? What is your history with Danzig, you guys? Like, how far back does it go? Because I mean, I know what for me and Bri, we're talking late 80s, early 90s, right?
Yeah, it's probably about right.
Yeah.
I probably started listening late 90s, but it was like I don't remember who I liked for who I got into, whether it was Misfits. It was either Misfits, I think maybe Misfits first, then
Right.
Misfits, Danzig. I don't know, remember the whole thing, but once I heard one, I had to listen to all of them.
Yeah, I think for us, for me anyway, I think it was Danzig first, then Misfits, then Samhain.
Okay.
Yeah, that's probably about right for me. I mean, I always knew who the Misfits were and kind of got found my way to Danzig, and by default then, checked all the other stuff out.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So let's see. Who should go first?
First with our last choice.
Yeah.
I'll go first.
All right.
So,
So
with the
13,
disclaimer,
Bride.
yes, with the disclaimer that a bunch of the newer albums were kind of, I would honestly say I didn't pay a whole lot of attention over the past few years, so I had to kind of revisit and think about it a little bit. And
Yeah, well, who can not a dead giveaway here, but like, who can blame you?
Yeah, it was a little rough. I felt like I was kind of delving back into my childhood a little, and some of it was shameful. But I'm going to go for 13. The worst one for me is got to be the Death Thread Sabbath. I can say this. It was partly the production, but I think the approach, because I don't think, and in my opinion, you can't take Danzig's talent and say it's bad. The songwriting's for the most part there. Some of it kind of is for a certain genre, or it's trying to fill his role. But I think that on that one, it sounds very monotonous and stale. Like the guitars now are kind of, I don't know. We kind of went through the industrial phase, or electronic, or getting more production, which whatever. But on that one, I don't know. It just sounded monotonous and stale to me. Like there was something missing. I could tell, like, maybe if it was, I mean, obviously there was no Rick Rubin involved in this one, so that's probably the biggest thing. Yeah.
All right, Bern, what's your number 13?
I go with 666, Satan's Child. I despise. Yeah, that's all I can say. I despised it. I just thought like that's when he starts getting over this, like, gets into this weird, I guess he tries to go heavy or whatever. It's like the sounds all distorted. It's hard to hear him. And again, Danzig has a great voice, so I want to hear him sing. I don't want to hear him like in the background, all this weird chorusy nonsense. I don't know. Some of the songs were too long. That Cali song was absolutely terrible. I think there was like maybe one song there that was all right, but I honestly, I was pretty close between a few for my last. So it's like there's a couple that are together, but that I just didn't like it.
Yeah, my number 13 is also Danzig 666, Satan's Child, or whatever the hell it was called. I don't know.
It's a good choice.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know, where do you start? I mean, do you start with the trash can drums, the stupid jun guitars, or the jun through the whole thing? That means it really, the production is awful. And it's not even like funny bad, or like you can like make fun. I mean, it's like bad, like embarrassing bad. There's no songwriting in there to be found at all. I mean, it's just a bunch of like stylized mid '90s nonsense. I mean, the only song on there I thought was it might have had something with maybe was 13 was the name of the song, and that wasn't saying much because it wasn't that great. I gave it a 1.5 out of 10.
I wrote that down. Not a bad song on there.
Is that the one you had too?
Yeah. I had down that was the one song that wasn't I didn't hate.
Right.
My number 12. It might be one we mentioned already, but I think I went with the I Luciferi. Yeah, and I can honestly say there was really nothing memorable about my listen through with that. As much as I tried, I had nothing to even say like I despise this or this has some promise. It was just bland, and it was like it felt like homework.
Yeah.
A lot of this really did. It really did.
Especially, well, Bri, I picked the same one for my. I was 6 and 7. I was so between. So was it Danzig 777? Like the I Luciferi. I was between the 6 and 7 between my like what's my worst, and I'm like, one half a dozen of another. It's like it sucked. It just sucked, and the production. Yeah, production was sucked. It was repetitive. It was like the weird chorus shit in the background. You couldn't hear Glenn singing. I trying to sound like KMFDM or something at some points, and I'm like, just stop.
1 out of 1 to 10 scale. What do you think on that? On Danzig 7 for you guys?
Mine haven't started getting ratings yet. They haven't accrued a star yet. So they're still they're like starters. They're like they haven't leveled up to even gain a star.
I agree. 6 and 7, listening to them was like really, really. It was very painful. It was.
Well, for number 12, I have Danzig 5. With
Danzig
Black
5.
Acid Devil. Yeah, Black Acid Devil.
Really?
Yeah, that was like I mean, look, I mean, I didn't want to start channel off with like these horrible negative, because it's really not going to be this way for every artist. We swear to God.
Yeah, I think. Well, I think we need to point out it probably won't be this way the whole rating today.
No. I mean, if you're a Danzig fan, just hold on. Don't get nuts. Don't. But we have to look. Danzig 5. I'm giving that also a 1.5, and I would go lower, but I know that if we do some like really bad pop shit later on down the line, that's going to be lower than 1. So there has to be something lower than this, in my opinion.
You made a good point.
I mean, I'm giving it a 1.5 because Danzig's name's on the cover. I mean, that's basically all I'm doing here. So what Danzig 5, what is he? He fires the entire band, the original band, before this happens, which obviously was a mind-boggling move. There's no Rick Rubin involved, obviously. I think was the seventh house is the ones. It sounds like my kids hitting pots and pans and trash can lids in the background. Then there was, what was that? Sacrifice was the lead single, and I'm pretty sure that it's note for note for one of the songs off the first 9 Inch Nails album. Which is interesting because he's jumping on a bandwagon. Like, so Danzig 5 was what, 1996, and Pretty Hate
Thing was
1989. So he's jumping on a bandwagon that happened 7 years before this. It's Hint of Her Blood drones on for what feels like 12 minutes, but I think it was only 3.5. Come the Silver would have been okay. That would have been an okay song if it was like an acoustic song and got rid of all the nonsense in the background. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, I think he originally wrote that. for Johnny Cash to record. Then Johnny Cash ended up using a different song, but then he does an industrial version of a Sabbath cover, which no one wants. No one wants industrial Sabbath covers. Nobody.
Nobody.
And I mean, the weird thing is like during the mid 90s, every hard rock band that was out in the 80s and the early 90s all jumped on this industrial thing. And not one of them had success with it.
No.
I mean, every single one of them was an abject failure. And as is this one. 1.5 for Danzig 5.
You made a good point there, because I think it is the industrial thing. People that were into industrial at the time were into it because they were into the artists coming up and doing it for the first time and making it original. The people that were fans of the bands in the 80s and early 90s didn't want to hear their artists change to try to be industrial, and the people that liked industrial didn't want to hear these, for lack of better term, has-beens trying to do industrial in their eyes. So it was just not a good choice.
I mean, let's face it, none of the fans of Frontline Assembly or Front 242 wanted to hear Industrial Shotgun Messiah.
No one.
Nobody wanted to hear that.
I may have moved it around a little bit and gave it another little bit more hope than you guys did, but I'll go with the 666 Satan's Child.
Okay.
Maybe we'll give that a star. For no good reason I can think of, other than maybe it didn't put me in as bad a mood as the last ones did, but there's really nothing memorable about it.
Yeah, I agree. All right, what do you got for number 11, Brian?
I have Dead Red Sabbath. Now, I will say I didn't really hear that one before. I wasn't horrific. Maybe that, I don't know if that was, I mean, I just didn't like it really. I just kind of wrote down that sometimes it sounds like he was trying to add a country, kind of a twinge or something like that to it. And the production, I didn't like the production. It wasn't as metally, which I liked a little bit, but I don't know. I just wasn't that into it.
Well, my number 11 is going to be Danzig 777, Lucifer, whatever it is. That's also 1.5. It's exhausting. So what I did was I started with the newest and went all the way to the first one. And instead of starting with the first one and going in hopes that maybe I'd find something good, and then by the time we get to, but I mean, what is it?
Smart. You wanted to give yourself some relief at the end.
Some of these song titles. I mean, what is it? We had the 4 songs with Skull in the title, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
Wicked Pussycat is as fucking dumb as it is bad. And then you have Kiss the Skull, which sounds like, I mean, and this was what, 99, 2000, right?
I think, I had
777, whatever it was. So that song sounds like, it was like Marilyn Manson or something, and that was 5 years before this. Anyway, more Jun sounds with the guitar, and then there's another one, Naked Witch. I mean, it just sounds like he's writing like the soundtrack for some back alley goth strip club or something. I don't know what he's trying.
I have that analogy.
Is awful. And the guitarist, the guy who plays guitar on this album, and I hate him. Oh my God, I can't stand his guitar playing. All the screeching over and over again. It's so bad. I'll get more into that as the next album goes. But I mean, so bad.
So 10. It was a little bit of these 10 and 9 for me. It was a little bit of a toss up, but I went with the Black Acid Devil, only for the reason of, I think you pointed out, for a negative reason, but he was still relevant when it came out. I remember being excited for it to happen. I believe I may have even seen him on that tour. And I also remember there was chants and him getting heckled a little bit on stage. And it was
Really?
It was not a small audience. I don't remember the venue, but it was a good medium to large size club. So there were fans, obvious fans of Danzig, people wearing Danzig shirts, heckling him on stage. So it's for me is when the downfall started. But also I remember the promise of the album. I remember being excited about it. I think, you know, for every artist, there's a songwriting period. A lot of those songs probably started to happen when he still had, you know, his classic lineup of his band. There probably was some remnants of some good songwriting in there. I guess I hear it a little bit there.
Same one. Black Acid Devil's my next one. Like I said, they're all same kind of thing. I just wrote down trying to sound AMFDM, Ministry, Skinny Puppy, but not nearly as good. Go back to being Danzig.
My number 10 is Circle of Snakes. I guess would have been Danzig 8, but he stopped using numbers, thank God. More trash can drums, more awful guitars with screeching. This might be the first album that's tuned to A. I think they're tuned so low that I actually can hear the guitar strings flapping in the wind as they're playing them. I'm not sure why you need to tune that low. I think the hook, there was one song, which is why this song gets 2 out of 10. I think it was Thousand Devils Drain actually had a good hook in it. But underneath all the bullshit guitar playing and the trash can drums and the Jun guitars, Kiss Useless, and more Skull Forest, Hell Mask, these song names. I can't. So Circle of Snakes, number 2. I mean, 2 out of 10, number 10.
Number 9, we're going to go Circle of Snakes. For the reasons pointed out, I won't rehash it, but it's kind of, I agree.
You can take a wild guess which one I picked for that one. I just wrote down weird screaming. First, I said there was one song I thought I was going to like, but then after I kept listening to it longer, I hated it by the end. It was When We Were Dead. I'm like, okay, maybe it started out all right. I'm like, no, it just got state now. So,
so you liked an intro?
I liked it starting out, and then by the end, I was just like, no, I don't like it anymore. So it's ruined. I'm never going to listen to it again. And then I said, I don't know. Yeah, the production stuff, I just couldn't. Some of it sounded like thrashy kind of metal, like want to sound. I'm like, you're Danzig, don't.
Yeah.
No, so it just wasn't working for me.
All right. My number 9 is Black Laden Crown. I guess that was his last like full album of studio songs.
Right.
It sounds like, in a way, he's like kind of like trying to recapture the Sam Hain thing, which is really weird. I mean, I like Sam Hain, but I'm not sure why you would want to recapture the Sam Hain thing in your mid 60s. You know, the guitarist, his name is Tommy Victor, and he's on like 5 of these albums, and they're all I mean, every half note is like is a screeching harmonic in every single song, and it gets worse like throughout the whole album. But there's good news here. Like the drums don't sound like trash cans. The drums don't sound like trash cans anymore because they sound like cardboard boxes. There's, more horrible production. His voice is completely shot, at least for this kind of music. He shouldn't be doing this kind of music at all. Like, I mean, he should really consider like writing songs that suit his voice at this point and stop like trying to do like crazy, he keeps getting heavier with every album, which is, I don't get it. And I'm pretty sure too, I saw that Glenn plays drums on like 3 of the songs, which is another throwback to like the Sam Hain days, which was kind of cool in like a punk rock kind of way back in 1984. Not so cool in 2017, you know.
Mhm.
And but there was one good song, "Pull the Sun." It would have been much better if he would just did it as like a piano ballad or like an acoustic thing. But you know, it had a great melody line and good vocals, and he did a great job on it. But again, more of the screeching nonsense with that Tommy Victor guy, which I don't know what he hears in him, but he's on like 5 albums. But I gave that one 2.5 because it was actually had a good song on it. So
Number eight, number eight, number eight. Oh, I wanted to, I did make that point about what you said, and I never bothered to look up the guitarist's name because the solos irked me and hurt me so bad deep down into my
but they
soul.
hurt your ears.
Yeah, it's
They
really
really
bad.
do.
Skeletons.
Okay.
I there was some promise there, and I think some of his choices of songs lended to who he is and what he is. It made sense to
Mhm.
me. There was a punk vibe on some of it. Doing a Sabbath cover again. All right, at least it wasn't industrial this time, but you know,
Right.
still, just leave it alone. And you know, the production isn't very good. I think this is a prime example of an album that had good production. You might have some people interested in it, you know, maybe that like some of the
Right.
songs that are on there, you know, like the old school Danzig would have been into it. It may have been good. People may be talking about it if it had some good production, maybe.
Mhm.
So it had a little bit more effort, maybe. So but it's still, it's not one I'm ever going to pop on again because I want to hear that again. Never.
Yeah.
But I'll give that
What do
like
you give
a
that one?
I give it like a 3. That's where we start to get like, all right, it's a Danzig album.
A Black Lady Crown is my next one, and same thing.
Mhm.
Trashy, a little too heavy metally.
Yep.
I also wrote down I liked one song. It wasn't the same as you. That's why I gave it a little better. I liked Last Ride a little bit. Now, will I go and
Okay.
listen to it again? I don't know.
Right.
But I wrote down I actually kind of like that one. And that's why it was not as low down as some of the other ones, because I liked one song. But again, didn't like it. If we had to compare it to like a Taylor Swift, I might go, like, if we had to give her something, if she would be a 0, then I would have to maybe give him like a 2.5 or something like that, because
Yeah.
it's not like
that's kind of the scale I'm kind of going with.
yeah. So if I had to compare it to that,
My number 8 is Death Red Sabbath, whatever. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. He has to spell it all weird and make it Latin-y or whatever he's trying to do. It's scary, but I thought this one had a couple of decent tracks on it, and I mean there's some songwriting there. There's even a couple on here that kind of sounded like early Arab Danzig, but the fact is that the musicians he has playing on them are not those 3 guys. So, I mean, he can do what he wants, keep writing these songs, but if he keeps using these heavy metal guys to play these songs, they're just going to come out sounding like generic heavy metal. On a Wicked Night, I thought was pretty cool. Kind of has like an evil, kind of folky, weird thing at the beginning. The voice effect on it is unnecessary. Didn't need to do that. Was it Death Red Moon is got a decent hook, some nice acoustic guitar in it, until the Juns come in again and just destroy the whole song. The solos on here are so bad. The solos are so bad. Like, it really just sounds like, I know he's trying to be shreddy and fast, but it just comes out sounding like noodly nonsense with like just scraping his pick on it and making it a harmonic. It's just, I can't take it. Like, there's so many songs that might have been okay that he just kept destroying, you know. And I think the best song on there, I think, was Juju Bone. That one, I don't know if I'll come back to it. But it definitely kind of has like if he wrote that song back in like 89 or 90, it could have fit in with the songs that he was doing back then. However, the song's too long. But I'm bumping up to 4 here. I'm giving this one a 4.
Oh,
So
number 7. Number 7 is a painful one for me. I moved it. I moved it around a couple times and thought about it, but it sings Elvis.
Uh-oh.
And
Okay.
the reason is this
All
is
right.
the album that Danzig fans wanted. It's the whole time I've ever heard Danzig, who's he get compared to? It was the perfect album for him. It should have been fantastic. The production killed it for me. The arrangements and the production made it a boring, hard to listen to album. It sounded like it was recorded in our practice garage we played in when we were 19, complete with the trash. You know, you could have had orchestration, you could have had structure, you could have done these songs maybe with a little bit of flash and spiced them up and threw your Danzig twist on it. And I don't know what he was going for with it. It was extremely disappointing. Yet it was still Danzig sings Elvis. So you have these songs that a lot of people know. You know, maybe not younger people as much. You know, but I think Elvis is like the Beatles. You could probably talk to a young teenager, and you're going to find a song they've heard. You know, it's classic stuff. It shouldn't have been that hard. It should have been like a 1-2. I have a selling record. The sale are for it. I haven't heard, you know, I'm not big on things I haven't listened to unless I'm forced to, you know, what the reviews are, what the sales are, how it's doing. Did he even tour for this? Did he do some kind of club tour?
No, I don't think
I don't know.
He didn't.
I don't know, but it had a lot of promise, and I gave that a couple listens. I really did. I wanted to hear maybe something I wasn't hearing the first time in it, and I wasn't, and I didn't. And it all came down to production and arrangement. Kind of really, it could have been a number 1 on the list had it been done right, but it's sad. I'm gonna give it a 4 just for like the idea and the thought behind it, like the maybe his effort, you know, like I don't know what goes on with this. Maybe it's a budgetary thing, you know, maybe Danzig's not. I think I read somewhere on his own, you know, just by his own words, it's like he plays these days. He's older now. He plays when he wants to, so he's not going out playing every summer to arenas, making the money and going in and doing what he wants in the studio. You know, it's almost like it's on the.
He's got to get to the store to get that cat litter.
Cat litter.
Yeah. You know, cat litter is expensive these days, so. You know, you don't want to be spending that much in the studio.
And two things of it too. He had to get 2 things.
He'll never ever live that meme down ever. Danzig walking down the street carrying 2 buckets of cat litter. His image was ruined.
It's brilliant because it's like, I mean, if it was anyone else in rock, no one would care. But it's Danzig. So Danzig has this persona, this imagery, this everything that goes along with him, and to see him carrying the cat litter was kind of like it's beautiful. It was beautiful.
All right, Bert, what do you got? Number 7.
Elvis.
Okay.
And I don't know if you heard. Did you see the one with him opening up the Christmas presents? Or when you wrapping Christmas presents? It's a newer man.
I did not. You were telling me about it, but I didn't
awesome.
see it.
He has some younger girlfriend now who's on one of his horror movies, and she snapped a picture. I think it was this year at Christmas, and he's wrapping Christmas presents, wearing like black pajamas, no socks, wrapping Christmas presents, and she puts it on Instagram. And he was furious because everybody sees Glenn Danzig in pajamas wrapping Christmas presents, Mr. Satan, and you know.
Well, first of all, that he's even celebrating Christmas is hilarious.
He was furious at like this. He's like, "Oh my god, I guess the cat litter did enough to his image." And then he's like, "My god,
I've got Satan in every title of my album. Is opening Christmas presents with a Santa Claus hat on his head."
Well, maybe it wasn't Christmas. Maybe he had like a solstice tree or something. You know?
Well,
Yeah.
He was upset enough that apparently she took it down like right away, but it was too late because people found it and it got out there. So I don't know. Just Google Danzig Christmas rapping, something like that, and it's a sight to behold. It's good. It's good.
That's great.
Good for a Sunday. It's a good way to start your week, you know.
Oh
So,
yeah.
I would say, yeah, I went with the Elvis one too. Kind of similar to what Bri said. Like everyone's like, he's Dark Elvis, and that's how he was always compared. And I was like, like it was okay. I mean, it wasn't bad. I would say it's not bad. Like some of the albums were bad. It wasn't bad, but I would have thought it'd be better. Again, and then again, production sucked. Like the production sucked. That helped. And then he sang a rainbow song. Like what was it? Like you're Danzig. Like don't think was a pocket of rainbows or something. Like you can't sing about rainbows. You're Glenn Danzig. No. So the fact that he sang a song about rainbows, I was between him and this next album for which one was next, but the rainbow song that did it for me. I'm like, you can't.
Lost a point there.
He lost the point for the rainbow, so I'm gonna give him a 3.5. It was.
Oh my god.
But get the rainbow stuff away.
Well, my number 7 might be coming as a little bit of a surprise, but I'm going with Thrall at number 7. I'm giving it a 4. And I think so. It's Coming Down was pretty good, right? And then there's 2 other ones. One of them is an Elvis cover that was kind of a disaster. And I'm pretty sure this was just to bridge the gap between the albums at the time, because I would be willing to bet money that these 3 songs were recorded for Danzig 3 and didn't make the album. So they were just kind of left over. So they put them on there with 3 live tracks. I mean, this is probably his biggest selling album, right? This EP, because it had the live version of Mother on it. I mean, it gets forced. I mean, just because, I mean, obviously, you know, John and Chuck Biscuits are on it, and they still play the hell out of the songs. But 3 studio tracks, 1 bad Elvis cover, 1 that's okay, and 1's good. So I'm just going with 4.0 for Thrall.
6, I differ from you guys a little bit, and I went with Black Laden Crown.
Okay.
And it's still kind of a bad album. It's not. I wouldn't call it good. I don't have plans to listen to it again. A couple of the songs I thought had a little bit of potential, but for me, the reason why it moved up there is because it has some promise in the fact that I feel like returning to his roots. Like I think Danzig's biggest problem is Danzig and not, you know, wanting to make his fans happy. You know, like if you do a thing, what are you known for? If you ask people on the street that maybe heard Danzig, what do they know him for? They're gonna say like Mother, maybe Twisted Cane, maybe, you know, that they aren't fans. They're gonna know that. The people that were fans back in the day, that's what they want. You know, you look at what AC/DC's been putting out the same album for how many years? And
right. Well, there is a certain thing to be said about like just doing the same album over and over again, though. And I get what you're saying, but I think and I'm okay with like doing things different. But my problem with Danzig is the guy, he was actually a trendsetter. Like he was a member of the Misfits, and then, you know, pioneered American punk, helped to do that, and then, you know, went on and formed Sam Hain and kind of like helped out with like, you know, goth music in America. And then like he just started jumping on every bandwagon that came along. He was doing industrial, then he was new metal, then he was just like, I mean, when you're a trendsetter, why are you jumping on these bandwagon? And he's not the only one. I mean, like there's been countless people who you're copying the guys who were copying you 3 years ago. It doesn't make any sense. But I'm sorry, go ahead. You're saying
everything you said is kind of right. For me, it's about the promise of where he might be going with it. And I think what you said's right, but Danzig is never going to be a trendsetter again. He's given up on
No,
that.
absolutely
He's
not. You're right.
he's not doing anything groundbreaking and new. So at that point, you hit an age, maybe it's not your primary goal to put out an album every year, every 2 years, to do a big massive tour, and it's not what he wants to do, obviously. So hearing him kind of try to return to the form a little bit was refreshing. It was kind of like, all right, this isn't as painful as some of the albums leading up to it. You know, it had, like you said, it had a little bit of a Sam Hain vibe, but I heard some of the early like Danzig 1, Danzig 2 vibe a little bit. Well, honestly, we didn't have people that could play it, and you didn't have it recorded real great. You didn't have the production there, but I see what he was kind of going for, and I can appreciate it.
Next for me would be Skeletons. I mean, again, it wasn't horrible. Some I like better than the others. I did not like the Sabbath cover. I don't like his Sabbath covers.
No.
The cover, the picture of there with him like getting older with the bare chest, you know, and like sometimes the bare chest, you gotta say now is not the day to bare my chest. Like maybe I get to that decade, and if you know, not for the world on the cover of my album, and then the weird makeup on his face, like it was like freaky weird, like that Mexican, like what's the Day of the Dead makeup with the bare chest. It kind of just, the whole thing rubbed me the wrong way with that picture. I like can't get it out of my head, you know. It's like I have like PTSD.
Yeah.
And then the Everly Brothers song, like I'm like, why are you doing this crying? Yeah, come on, don't do the Everly Brothers. Like I don't know, that bothered me. I don't want to hear about raindrops and smiling in the sun. You're dancing. Not allowed to say smiles, sun, rainbows. That's like a Christmas, you know, like that's off limits. You're not. Yeah, I only want to hear about death, demons, and wolves, or what. You know, that's what I want to hear from dancing. He can even talk about stalking young girls, which he does in a couple of his other songs. I would prefer that to hearing him talk.
So uncomfortable.
I'm glad you said that, because I didn't actually catch that there was an Everly Brothers song on there, probably because I had no idea what most of the songs were, other than something old that I don't know.
Yeah.
I did look them up. So I said some of it was all right. Again, the production, again, like you said, Bri, would have helped things up a little bit, but yeah, but the cover, like, yeah, just, you know.
The cover killed it for Bern.
Yeah, so that's what I got.
All right. Well, I have Skeletons also at number 6. But I think I liked it a little bit more than you guys did. So okay. I gave it a 4.5, and I was looking forward to this one, not only because like I saw the song selection on there and some of the songs I thought were kind of cool, and I was kind of thinking maybe, but the little kind of Bowie reference on the cover to the Bowie's pinup album, kind of a take on the Bowie. But I swear to God, my first note on here is it would have been nice if both the people on the cover had shirts on. That was literally the first thing that I had on. No, totally. I would have totally appreciated it. It was no need, absolutely no need for that. But if the bad side first, I'm gonna say number 1, again, stop with the Sabbath covers. No more. I don't want to hear anymore. He does a cover of Lord of the Flies by Aerosmith, which is one of their better songs. That song has a really good groove to it, and this is totally kills the groove. It's like one of the worst covers I've ever heard. It's awful, and his vocals are off key on there. I don't know. I just don't know what he was thinking. It's like, and then he does a cover of an old Rascal song, which might have worked. But the goddamn guitarist, I don't get it. Why is he still here? Tommy Victor, why is he still here? He's like 6 albums. I feel like he played on 12 albums, because I have nightmares about his guitar playing. I'm like, oh my God, I look in the credits, I'm like, oh my God, he's still here. Oh my God. But on the good side, so he does a cover of Rough Boy by ZZ Top, which I'm not a ZZ Top guy. I don't know much about them other than like their known songs. So I assume that it's Glenn. So he probably picked some obscure 70s ZZ Top song, right? So I look it up. Here it's like an album track, like a deep album track from Afterburner, like the album in '83 with Legs and Sharp Dressed Man on it.
Mhm.
Oh.
And it actually he kind of pulls it off. Like I was listening to going, so Glenn Danzig is recording a 1983 ZZ Top song, and it actually is kind of okay. I was like, all right. And I'm going to totally differ with you guys on the Everly Brothers song. I thought it was awesome. I loved it. I thought it was the best song on the album. I mean, I know it's like, but like at his age, like he's got to be tired of singing about this. He's got to be. He's got to be. He's been singing about skulls and wolves and witches and stuff for
Demons.
pushing a half a century. He's got to be like, oh my God, please let me out of this box. But I think that song stole the show.
We know he has cats and celebrates Christmas, so
Yeah. Well, look, he has to know where his voice lies at this point. Like, I mean, he's in his 60s. He doesn't have the hollering thing down really anymore, and that suits his voice now. Like, so maybe we'll get into that part later. But I gave it 4.5. I thought Skeletons was okay.
number 5. That's where we start getting kind of good for me.
Yeah.
I went with 4.
Okay.
Yeah. For the most part, it was a good album. I would say honestly, even back when it was fairly new and I was still like, really excited about Danzig, looked up to him as an artist, liked what he was doing. It was like a half album for me because I would really only listen to the first 4 or 5 songs and then get bored and turn it off. But the first few songs on that album are really good. It catches your attention. It has an upbeat rhythm. The band sounds great. It sounds like Danzig with a little bit of like a band will do. They progress a little bit, add a little bit of sound, experiment a little. It was nice. It was refreshing, but it wasn't like you jumped into industrial. There was a little bit of a sound to it I liked. Little Whip is probably one of my favorite Danzig songs. It always gets me going. So it's that's a good maybe 5. We'll even go 6 for me.
Yeah, I did Thrall for my next one, and then this is where I'm also kind of getting into like I'm starting to like them a little better. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. And yeah, my notes aren't that great for this one. I just said yeah, pretty good. There was a little mixed bag of what I liked or didn't like, but I thought overall compared to what I've been listening to before, I liked it because it reminded me of like old Danzig. Like I felt like the old like they were playing music and it was more of a little more cohesive kind of a Danzig feel compared to some of that later stuff, which was all over the place.
My number 5 is going to be, might come as a surprise to some people, but I'm going with Danzig 3, How the Gods Kill.
Wow.
Number 5. No, I'm not going to don't give it away, but I'm predicting this might be Bry's one. But don't tell me. Don't tell me. So it's the classic lineup. And it's got the sound, but it's got this little bit more muscle in it. And this is where the part where he starts, I think, veering from the hard rock into that metal lane. And I don't dislike it. It's just it's almost by the third album it starts to feel like a Danzig by numbers. Like it's the same kind of songwriting 3, which is cool, which is fine. But I think coming up after this, there needed to be a change of direction to a certain degree, and there was. But some of the songs on here, like Anything, is one of the best Danzig songs. It's a great song. Sistinus is just awesome songwriting. It's well conceived, well written, sung with emotion, which is, when that's Glenn's wheelhouse, I think. It's that Elvis, Roy Orbison thing that he does. He doesn't really miss on the ballads. He never does. I mean, like, they're always awesome, top notch. How the Gods Kill, the title track, very good, even if it was a little bit predictable, but I love the beginning with the slow part and the OOOs. Good. When I started to get a little bit bored in the in-between tracks, like Left Hand Black and Heart of the Devil, I don't care for that one too much. I feel like he wrote that song 7 times, and the lyrics are getting predictable. Like in the first couple of albums, it wasn't as with the imagery. It was more like more threatening and ominous, and this becomes more about like horns and pitchforks and all that shit. But I mean, it's just like, devil, 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 devil. It's like, I mean, we get it. You like the devil. You like the devil. We get it. Can we sing about anything else? Like anything on this album at all? But that being said, Chuck Biscuits kills it on this album. Like that dude, the drumming on here, as far as hard rock goes and like metal, like from the first bar of music, who's playing drums. You know what I mean? He has a style. No one else sounds like him. I mean, this goes back even to his like Circle Jerk days. Like no one plays like that. He has he's as distinct of a drummer to me as like Bonham. I mean, like, how like when you hear like a beginning of a Zeppelin song and the drums start up, John Bonham. Well, that's how I feel about Chuck Biscuits. Like when I hear his drum playing, I know it's him before even a note of guitar comes in or the song starts. But I just think he's an awesome drummer. And I think when he left, just no one was filling those shoes. So, but I give Danzig 3 a 6.
Number 4, I went with Danzig 2, Lucifuge.
Okay.
It's a good album. It's a classic lineup. I've always felt listening, going through the catalog and being into it then, that it, to me, always had a bit of that sophomore thing going on, where maybe some of it, he was trying a little too hard here or there. Some of the songwriting, I've always found them really ridiculous on that album. You have great musicians, you got great production, and you got this song where he's singing about being a wolf. Like it's, I don't know. It always got me a little bit, and I mean, it's, I love the album, I do, but I think everything everyone else would probably put it up there, where I always heard it like, I'm even back then when I was a huge Danzig fan, hearing it, I would cringe a little sometimes. I was like, maybe you're overdoing it a little bit here. It's got some fantastic songs on it. It's got that groove. John Christ is killing it on that album. He also has a unique sound, and I don't think Danzig, as a solo artist or as the band Danzig, I guess as it was thought of then, would have been what it was. But it's a good album. It's probably a good 6 for me.
I did Danzig 4, and again, all the rest of my last 4, I like all of them. So I don't really, like, I'm not going to have anything like the other ones to say negative. Now, I think this is when he's starting to get a little on the heavier side. Like he has the mix. Like I feel like he has the mix where he still has some of the slower, lower, kind of dark, eerie stuff. Mixes in a little more. I had the heavier stuff. But I mean, there's some songs I really, really like Bri, Little Whip. I don't really know what a Little Whip is, but I think it's an awesome song. Can't speak.
It makes me want a Little Whip. Whatever a Little Whip is, I want it.
I'm like, I was going over that. I'm like, what exactly? I don't know if I want to know, but yeah.
Be careful what you wish for there.
Although I will say, that, like some of the songs, you have to like when I was putting the lyric like on Spotify, I was putting lyrics on and like the Stalker song. Like I'm like, all right, that's a little
Yeah.
elevated. It's a little,
Yeah.
you know. But Brand New God, Can't Speak, like Little, like I think they're all awesome songs, and there's no song on there that I dislike. Like there's some songs I'm like, okay, they're good, but I don't like any song. So I would give that I would probably give that like maybe I would give that like a good 6.5, something like that.
All right. Well, my number 4 is going to be Danzig 2, Lucifuge. I give that a 6.5. I think Bri had something go. I mean, I was like following what I was thinking there with the whole sophomore slump thing. Not that it's a big fall off. It's not a big fall off. I mean, it's still Rick Rubin producing, still the 3 guys behind them that created that sound. But I just, for whatever reason, when I got to, like I said, I listened from the newest all the way to the first. And when I got to this album, I just remembered liking it more back then. And not that, I mean, it's not like a huge fall off or anything, but I remember thinking I used to really get into Long Way Back from Hell. And it's still okay, but I don't get like, maybe it's because I'm not fucking 16 anymore. That could be why. But I think now the funny thing was when I was younger, I didn't like Killer Wolf. Now I like it. I thought Killer Wolf was one of the better songs on the album now. But I'm Tired of Being Alive. That's a really good song. It has kind of like this weird Deep Purple groove to it, even though there's no. It even has a little bit of an organ in there, which actually kind of reminds me of. I'm the One is a cool blues jam. It's fun, just real quick. It's not real complicated. Her Black Wings is still a cool song. Still a great rock song. I almost kind of felt as I'm listening to it, kind of started making rock and roll horns, and I'm like, no, don't put it down.
Voluntary reaction.
Yeah, it was almost, it's a great riff. I mean, especially in the chorus, because it's all single notes. There's no power chords or anything in it, which was so different than what was everything else was going on back then. It's single guitar notes with single piano notes behind it. It's just so simple of an idea, but no one else back then. It was like back then, like doing the chorus, it was more power chords and 3 tracks, 4 tracks, 5 tracks. And here it was simple 4 notes on a guitar with a single note and piano, and it was an awesome melody line. Some of the songs are, you get into like Devil's Plaything, which I think is just isn't that basically an AC/DC riff? And then 777, I think I'm pretty sure that's Gallows Pole by Zeppelin, right?
Yeah, yes.
And they're not bad, but again, the ballad on this album steals the show. I mean, I think Blood and Tears, far and away, it's not even close. I think Blood and Tears is by far the best song on the album. Glenn sings the hell out of it. That's a song I forgot how good that was. So I mean, that's a song I'll come back to again. I mean, not too far in the future. I mean, because I haven't touched these albums in so long, but I'll go back to Blood and Tears again. Danzig 2, 6.5, number 4. What's your number 3?
Oh, we're up to 3.
Wow.
So I'll make that note that I think everything and maybe in the top 4 or 5. I don't know if I'm speaking for all of us, but they're all good albums.
Yeah.
They're all like, if number 3. Number 3, I went with Thrall.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I remember, and the reason I went for 3, it's stretched to call it an album. It was a major release. It's more of an EP, but it was. I think it was brilliant at the time for Danzig. It was huge. It's the reason why we're having this review. It's the reason why he got as big as he did, because it was And I don't know whose decision it was, if it was for him to push it, the record company, producer,
Probably
manager,
Ruben.
probably Ruben. But
Mhm.
it was the re-release of Mother. The video that everyone knows of Mother came from this release, and that's why we're still talking about Danzig. Is this album? It probably sold. If I had to guess, I'd probably say it sold more than anything else on this list.
It did. It's his highest selling release.
Yeah,
Believe it or not, it is. Yeah.
good.
And like what Bri said, I like all these albums at this point. So now I'm on Danzig 2. Again, I like it, but a lot of Wolf, a little overboard with the werewolf theme going on. But hey, do you? And it has that whole bluesy. That's what I was writing down. It has a lot of that. They added like the bluesy thing. I said, okay, well, he's trying to switch it up a little bit from the first one, so I give him credit for doing something a little different. But I thought there were some really good songs. Like I Long Way Back from Hell, I think is an awesome song. I'm the Wolf, I really like. Devil's Plaything, I still like. When I heard again, I haven't listened to this for a while either, but a couple of those songs, once I put them on, I'm like, oh yeah, they're actually pretty awesome songs. So yeah, so I think everything on the album. So I like it.
So my number 3 is Danzig 4, and I'm giving that. I'm also going to give that a 6.5, and but I think, and this is what makes Danzig 5 so stupid, is because this was the right move coming out of the first 3 records. It was the right progression. It was the right sound. It was easy to build off of during that time period. It would have worked, which makes the next album that much more puzzling. But and like I said, listening to the newest all the way up to here, I don't know whether, it's Danzig 4 really is my number 3, but I just think that once I got to Danzig 4 coming backwards, I was just so happy to hear that drum fill that opens up brand new. It's like, oh my God, Aaron, it's Chuck. And then John comes in, like there they are. That's Danzig. And such a distinct style. No one sounded like them at the time. A lot of bands copied and tried, but they didn't sound like it.
So why do you place this above 2 and 3?
Because I think the songwriting is a little bit more creative. Because I think 2 and 3 were like, it was a little bit more like, it just was the same style, but just
Predictable.
getting heavier. It was the same style, but it just kept getting a little heavier. While with this one, there's like 4 or 5 different twists and turns on the album. Couple more ballads, couple more like mid-tempo songs that aren't so like constantly driving, but the heavy songs are heavy and they work. And again, so you have Going Down the Die, another great ballad. He sings the hell out of that. Can't Speak was good. That was a nice change of pace. It kind of had like a little bit of electronic elements in it, but he didn't take it to like that nth degree where he was just like copying, 9 Inch Nails or whatever he was trying to do.
It was more for mood.
Yeah. It worked. But I think, when you listen to Going Down the Die, you just wonder why he never did an album worth of ballads. Like, why didn't he just, he's got them laying around.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe that's something he should start thinking about now. But there is a song, one of the songs might be my all-time second favorite Danzig song that's on here, Dominion. I think that song is I think it's great. And I don't even listen to a real lot of heavy stuff anymore. And it's not really all that heavy. It's just got a great mood to it and a great hook. The guitars are really creative. And then just great use of the piano and guitar thing that he did so well back then. He created that Danzig sound. But I think there's about 4 or 5 good songs on here that I would come back to voluntarily, believe it or not. And that's why I had it up a little bit higher than the other ones. I have number 6.5, number 3, Danzig 4. So got
Number 2. What's it gonna be?
I know what I know you.
I mean, a lot of us are between the same kind of.
It's Danzig 1. Danzig
You know
1 is definitely my number 2. So you were correct about something, but it's a classic album from beginning to end. It's real, you know, ability to listen again, you know, and it's also kind of timeless to me because it was odd when it came out. It wasn't, like you mentioned earlier, trend setting. It was trend setting because it was bumping the trend. It wasn't trying to do what everyone else was doing. You know, he came out and put this album out that was a little more laid back. You know, it was I mean, not to say it wasn't heavy and had its moments where it's really, you know, you really get into it, but it's, I mean, from beginning to end, it's classic and it's produced perfectly. The little things between, like, you know, like I said before, between like Chuck and John Christ making that sound and doing it so well, you know, being a guitarist back then, I never once tried to get my amp to sound the way, you know, John Christ sound. It just wasn't something I went for. And, you know, I learned, I got a little older. It's now, and Danzig's current guitarist is doing that, just dial up more distortion and see what we do. But it was beautiful because you had someone to record it properly and mix and master it, and it just was gorgeous. And everything, you hear everything in that album. You hear the guitars, you know, you hear the bass, you hear the drums, you hear every subtle thing. And it's probably, like, maybe his most perfect album. You know, there's not a bad song on it. I love it. It's my number 2. Probably gets like a 7.
Yeah, and it was a little hard for me between the next 2, but I had to kind of think about it. So I guess I would give number 2. I would give Danzig 3. It was close. I mean, just awesome album. I felt, you know, he does put that little more of a gothy kind of edge to it. I think the music, just all musically, it's his voice, the music, it blends together well. He has this like dark, eerie, churchy sounds that he adds into things. Some of the songs are just awesome. Like Dirty Black Summer is one of my favorites. Like I'm always gonna like Dirty Black Summer. Anything's an awesome song. How the Gods Kill. They all have a little different. Some are a little heavier, but he has that nice balance. It's like slow, low, dark, and then boom. But it's his heavy's never too heavy that it annoys you if you're not into heavy. It's just like, I feel done perfectly. And again, you can hear him sing with it, and then it comes back, and yeah, it's just awesome. Just a great album. I would definitely listen to that whole album again for sure. I'd give it a good 8.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, I really like it. Oh, and then we're like, yeah, I give it a solid 8 to 8.5. I really like it.
Wow. Well, I have 2 left. So my number 2 is Danzig Sings Elvis.
Wow.
Wow.
And I'm giving it a 7. I loved it. I thought it was really good. And I was like, and here's some of the reasons why. I'm listening to it, and he sounds revitalized. I mean, we listened to that last album. What was that? Black Laden Crown, where he was playing all these heavy songs, and his voice is just not. This sounded like it was something he always wanted to do. He sounded like he was really enjoying himself in doing it. I'm not even sure there's any other musicians on it other than Glenn Danzig. I'm not, because there's no credits. So I'm trying to find out who played on it. I'm not sure he didn't play everything on it. But honestly, I think he should have done. The only thing bad about it is he should have done it 25 years ago. I think he's, would have been a good idea to do back then with a bigger budget. But I personally, I think the production kind of works. I know it's like thin, And I think, it goes crazy with the reverb on the vocals, but it has like this lo-fi thing that kind of works. It's kind of like a DIY type of thing that, gives it a little bit of a punk edge to the fact that he's doing Elvis songs. But I mean, look, you look at it this way. So he was always writing songs for Johnny Cash and Roy Orbison and all these guys that he really loved anyway. And that he loves writing it, and his voice suits it perfectly. And his voice isn't suited to the hard rock thing much anymore anyway. I just thought that I thought it would have been a shame, but it's a shame that I don't know how fractured his relationship is with Rick Rubin. From what I understand, it's pretty bad. But if he could have just done this album with Rick Rubin, with like those three guys, I mean, it would have been, I don't even know how much better it would have even been, but it's something he probably should think about. Like, like Brian Setzer from the Stray Cats kind of like created this whole new career for himself, where like he became like this big band guy, and he just has like residencies at like Vegas and stuff. I don't know. Maybe Glenn should start thinking about that, like
Well, I could do
Viva
Vegas.
La Danzig or something.
Oh, I think if
Like doing this kind of thing, like playing all kinds of Everly Brothers and Elvis and Roy Orbison, and just doing it up for like, and just, I just think his voice would just be great for it. And I think, well, here's the one bad thing, and I'm pretty sure this is why I thought maybe he played everything by himself. He does that cover of Always on My Mind, which he does a nice job on, but there's a guitar solo on it. I wasn't sure, but I thought I had to check the credits to see if CC DeVille came in. I mean, it was like, I mean, it was so screechy and poor. But other than that, though, I think Is It So Strange was simple and to the point and awesome. One Night captured the vibe of the song. First in Line sounded natural. Baby Let's Play House sounded like it reminded me of the Cramps, because it was like real reverbery and like kind of uppity. And Girl of My Best Friend I thought was really good. I think I listened to it like 2 or 3 times. And I got to be honest, I thought Pocket Full of Rainbows was awesome. I was like, I can't believe I'm listening to Danzig sing about rainbows. And it was, I was floored, and I was just like, oh my God, and he fucking nails it. Like, he's singing about rainbows and Danzig nails it. Yeah. So Danzig sings Elvis, my number 2. I can't believe it. 7.
Yeah, that's something.
I will say I listened to it after I listened to it the second time, I liked it better than the first time I listened to it. But I think for me, the production thing made it a little trickier on that album. But it definitely, I feel it wasn't like for me, a first hit, but it's maybe if I listened to it like 10 times, I might think differently. I don't know. But
I can make it to 10 times.
I can understand.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to quite do that, but
But you're right. It was better on the second listen because you already had it out of the way what the production was like. So you're trying to just listen to his take on the songs.
Exactly.
Well, let's hear Bri talk about How the Gods Kill.
Yeah, that's
number 1.
That to me is like the ultimate Danzig album. It was oddly enough the first Danzig album I bought and listened to and owned. That was when I got into Danzig. Before he came out. I knew who he was. I've seen the video for Mother. I was like, Danzig's cool. We're talking about a time in my life when I could not afford to buy every album I wanted that came out, and nor did I work at Kmart and could steal every album that I wanted, like some people could. So I had to kind of pick and choose, and it just wasn't there for me. So I was like, yeah, it's cool. I'd hear it when my friends would play it. I'd hear it, if it was I caught it. And when 3 came out, there was a couple reasons. It was like I just started to get into it. I had heard, I liked the songs I was hearing, and the new album was released, and I was like, I'm gonna buy this one. Partly that, and partly I was kind of dating a girl whose favorite artist in the world was Danzig. So I was like, I guess I should know a little bit more about what this Danzig thing's all about. So and it played a big part in it. So I picked up Danzig 3, and I was blown away. And honestly, I am still blown away listening to that album. It's fantastic. It's the vibe. It's the use of the pianos and the orchestration that's thrown in, but it's subtle. There's so much going on where it's such a contrast to his last album, which sounds like he's trying to return to that form, but it's so stale. It lacks any definition or the dimension of having a piano or having different sounds, where that one is done perfectly. I don't know that he could ever do a better album than that. And it's the musicians were part of it, the production was huge on it, but the songwriting is fantastic. There's not a song on that album that ever gets old for me. So yeah, it was my first. It was I fell in love with it, so I listened to it to death. And we were hanging out, it kind of became the theme music to certain places we went and certain things we did. And I think there was a time where pretty much all of us were kind of singing along to it, or singing it without it even being playing, because we had no electricity where we were and no way to actually play anything. So we just sang it and hummed the parts and banged the things around us for the beat. And it's to me, it's a soundtrack of the time of my life. And saw him on that tour, met him on that tour, which, different story, may have been a little bit of my like, all right, maybe I feel a little differently about Danzig now. He was kind of a jerk, but saw him in person and saw how short he was. It was I guess everyone knew this. Everyone knew it. Me being somewhat new to Danzig was a little bit. I probably had an expression on my face as he came down the tour bus and kept coming down the steps, and he was staring at like my chest, and I'm like, wow. But not that matters at all. It was maybe that's why I don't know. Maybe I had a stupid look on my face, like, well, that's it. But I love that album. Love it. It's a period of my life that's I can still put that album on and think about certain times and things that brings me back to them. It's brilliant.
Wait, were you going like 9 on that or what?
No, I mean, for me, things to get to like 9 and 10s are kind of out of reach. It's like left for a few lofty things. So that's going to be like an 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Obviously, my last one left is 1, and I was pretty close between 3 and 1, but I think both of them are awesome. But 1, I just was like, wow, that's like so different. It's versatile. I just thought it was fresh. It was just different. Like anything Twisted Cane, I think is just awesome. It's just awesome song. And then it goes from there to like She Rides, and it sounds like that should be like some kind of like heavy metal stripper kind of song, like something you would see on Sons of Anarchy. Like the girls in the club would be stripping to rides, like it's like perfect for that. And then of course there's Mother, and obviously that's like the anthem and things like that. But it's just awesome. It's just all over, from a little heavy to like slower and dark, and I don't know. I just thought it was just great. Just, I don't even know, just all around awesomeness. Yeah. Again, that 1 and 3, I think I could listen to all the time. Like after re-listening to them again, I'm like, oh yeah, they're just great albums. I like every song on there. Good.
Well, my number 1 is Danzig 1. It's not Danzig Sings Elvis, so you guys can relax.
Right. Good.
But no, I'm gonna be honest here. Before going into this, I knew, even before listening to all these albums, I knew 1 was gonna be 1. It's just, to me, it is as far as like hard rock goes, it's hard to get better than this album. It's classic Mean, Sunglasses at Night, a leather jacket biker rock, and it's just great. It stinks, it smells, it's sweaty, it's menacing, it's good stuff. It, and it came out when it is 88. It came out. I think I want to say 90. Did I get 90? 90? Is that when I got it? I don't even know. But I know I didn't have it in
Probably
88,
about there.
but I remember 90, something like that. But so it came out in 88, and Rick Rubin, who at the time, and I mean, I don't know, he's still a very good producer, but at the time, he had such a signature sound to the albums that he produced. And he had just got done right before the album he recorded right before this was Electric by the Cult. And those two albums are like, if you listen to them back to back, they're almost like siblings. Like they have very similar guitar sounds, very similar drum sounds. Ian and Glenn, not too different. There's kind of vocally, they still have like that Jim Morrison thing. But I mean, I do like Electric better for the record. But I'm going to say I'm giving Danzig 1 an 8, and that's really high for my brain these days for a hard rock album. Like the things I'm listening to are just so like out in left field compared to this, and that I still enjoyed this after all these years was pretty wild. Like I didn't think I was going to I was kind of like, oh man, I got to trudge through all these Danzig records. We agreed on this. Oh man, I really like listening to Danzig 1. I still do. This is the ultimate version of Danzig. Everyone knows that this lineup is Danzig without these four guys. And let me just give a little special mention or side mention here. If we've mentioned Chuck Biscuits and John Christ like 12 times, he's not the greatest bass player, but you have to add your Yvonne in there. Mm-hmm. We haven't even mentioned him yet. We have to at least mention him. The guy's in the pocket. He does everything to keep up with Chuck on drums. Can't be easy. He holds down the fort really well. John's straight, overdriven, tube screaming just guitar sound on here is just, it's one of the best hard rock sounding guitars there are. I mean, and he never completely recreated it after this album. And and then you got Chuck's swinging punk groove that no one else sounds like him on drum. And I know I've said that a few times on here. There's really not a bad song on the album. I mean, it gets a little bit like once you get to like the Hunter and Evil thing, maybe it starts to fall off a little bit. But those
They're still fantastic.
What's that?
They're still fantastic though.
Yeah, I mean, the lyrics are even great. I mean, are very good. I don't want to go great. I mean, we're not talking about Glenn Danzig. We're not talking about like Bob Dylan here lyrically here, but he's not overly evil. You know what I mean? It's like it's definitely menacing. He's not singing about like creatures, and he's singing. It's more of like a mood. You know what I mean? And I mean, even the sexuality on it isn't like overtly stupid yet. It's still kind of cool. It was just, and then to think at the time in 1988. So what's going on in 1988 rock wise? You have what? Bon Jovi. You have Metallica. You have, God, what? Def Leppard, maybe.
Think about the top 10. The top 10 in 1988. The top 10 in 1988 for most of that year was going to be like Bon Jovi and Poison and Skid Row and
right, but it was also the thrash metal too. I mean, you had like it was the same time where like Megadeth and Metallica.
Yep.
And this was dark and evil without all that extra jun bullshit. Like jun. It's not there, and it's still dark and menacing. And they do that with no. I mean, it's honest, no frills, no bullshit. It's just straight biker rock. I mean, and it's funny that you said Sons of Anarchy too when you were talking about it, because it's true. And I guess, I mean, you got M.I. Demon, that opening riff, it's two notes.
Mm-hmm.
And every time you hear it, you're just like, no, don't do it. You know, Mother is still awesome.
Still, yeah.
It's still awesome. I mean, and then, but I guess I got two Soul on Fire. That's a great written song. I mean, it's just a great mood to it, great sound. And this album also has my all-time favorite Danzig song, and it might be, it's up there. If we ever do like a top 10 hard rock songs of the 80s, this might be their End of Time is my favorite Danzig song. It's just, I think that is, if someone said to me, well, who's Danzig? That's the song to pick. That is just a great song. It's got the gross drums. That none of the guitar work is predictable. Like, you don't know what's coming. Like so many hard rock songs, it starts out and it's like, oh, okay, well, we heard the verse and the chorus, we know the rest of the song. You know what I mean? But it builds up, and it's such a great song. It's a
You would pick that over Pocket Rainbows, Al?
what's that?
You would pick that over Pocket Full of Rainbows?
I do pick that over Pocket Full of Rainbows, yes. Pocket Full of Rainbows may be number 3.
Well, there's something right with the world.
No, it's no, but come on. For me, it was never going to be anything else other than Danzig won at number 1. It was a clear.
Since you mentioned that,
for me.
so we went with favorite songs since we got to our top ones. Bern, what's your favorite Danzig song?
Oh, that's a good. Oh God, yeah. See, I didn't think of that. All right, give me a second. I'm between a couple. Let me think for a minute.
It's tough. It's tough for me. I went back and forth for a couple. I mentioned Little Whip earlier, even though it's on what for? It's it's a great song. It's fantastic. It's gets you going. It's good. Obviously, One is a masterpiece. So hard trying to find a song on there, and I picked 3 as my number 1, so I love that album too. But it was a toss up for me, but I would probably say Anything.
That's in my. I'm doing anything's up there. Oh,
I'd say that's in the top 5.
It's just fantastic, and I know people compare it to saying it has, it's been done before. It's got a vibe, maybe it's got like a Zeppelin-y vibe or something. I don't know about that. Anyone that knows me knows I really dislike Zeppelin. So well, I guess we didn't have what's his face screeching on it, so it's going to be better. But still, it's just a great song. It's got this groove to it, and some of those songs, when they're simplistic, like Anything, or anyone that's ever played music trying to get together and play a cover of like Mother or Twist of Cain, it's not easy. They're simplistic, but that swing time and Chuck
definitely
has, and then John Christ plays his timing to it. It's not easy to replicate. People might listen to it and be like, well, it's like it's 3 chords in this song, and it's simple. It's easy. I can play it in a minute. You try to play it with everyone in time. No, it's not easy.
Yeah. Well,
did you think of a number 1 there, Bern?
No, I'm between. Is anything Twist of Cain and Dirty Black Summer. I like all of those 3 a lot. So I don't know. They're a little different, but. And again, not things I think about day to day, but when I was going through this again, I'm like, all those 3 songs just stick out. I just really like them all in a different way. So I can't at the moment think of a favorite.
Okay.
But they all rock.
I'm going End of Time, End of Time, Dominion, and Pocket Full of Rainbows.
If I'm adding a 3rd song in there, it's going to be Sistinas.
Okay.
That's always
what's
fantastic.
Blood and Tears.
Yeah.
Blood and Tears. Blood and Tears was awesome too. That's actually very, very good. But okay, so what do you come away with? I'll come away with this. I never have to hear fucking Tommy Victor play guitar ever again. That's my one thing I'm thankful for with this video being over.
Are you sure about that?
But again, I was
You might want to do an
surprised.
update to this in a year when he has another album out.
Not happening. Not happening. Not happening. Not happening. As much as I like that first album, I don't want to ever have to hear those first like 7 to have to get to it ever again. But so all again, I mean, what do you think, Danzig? Happy? Happy it's over? Happy you did it? What? A little bit of both?
I would give both because some of the other, like some of those like heavy metal Danzig albums were pretty torturous to listen to. I'm not lie. Like I've never
Some of them.
unless I don't like unless there's like a gun held to my head, or maybe if a Little Whip came out and made me listen to it or something like that.
Yeah, it was a little half and half for me. It was a little painful. It was a little like homework. It was a little like, I mean, I guess it was enlightening. So I know the stuff I will never want to hear again. But it also was kind of cool to revisit some things maybe I forgot about a little bit and how much I liked.
Well, that's it. We ranked Danzig.
Yeah.
Until next time.
Mm,
Thanks
cool.
for watching, everybody. See you next time on Dead End Street.